The market was loud, filled with shouts, laughter, and the sharp cries of merchants trying to sell their goods. The smell of cooked meat, smoke, and sweat mixed in the air. Cages were lined up in the center of the square, and inside those cages were not animals but living people. Some were children, some were women, all with tired eyes and bruised skin. Among them sat a girl, thin and pale. Her hair hung like a curtain over her face. Her arms wrapped tightly around her knees as if she could make herself disappear. She had been told what she was worth. She was not a worker, not a fighter, not even a servant. She was sold for one purpose: to be a bed companion, to warm someone's body at night. The crowd laughed cruelly as the auctioneer called out her name. His voice was harsh, echoing over the noise. "She is young, obedient, and will not resist," he shouted. His long fingers gripped the iron bars as he shook her cage to make her stand. She did not stand. She kept her head down, her eyes staring at the dirt floor. The bidding began. Voices called out numbers. Some alien shouted with greedy eyes. Some only sneered. She had been through this before, always ending up with a new master, always ending up in another bed. She wanted to close her ears, but the voices drilled into her head. Each number shouted was another nail in her prison. Yet in the corner of the crowd, someone did not shout. A man stood still, tall and quiet. His clothes were simple, his face shadowed by the sun above. He was not like the others. He was human. His eyes were fixed on her, not with hunger, not with desire, but with something she could not name. Something softer, quieter. She felt his gaze but did not look up. Her heart beat fast. Was he another buyer? Was he different? She could not believe it. Humans were rare in these markets, but she had heard whispers. Some humans were cruel, but some were said to be kind. She did not dare to hope. Hope was dangerous. Hope was a knife that cut deeper when it broke. The auctioneer slammed his hand against the bars. "Stand, girl," he barked. She slowly rose, her legs shaking. Her dress was torn, her body thin. Her skin carried the marks of nights without rest. Her eyes lifted for just a moment, and in that moment she saw him, the human. His eyes did not flinch when they met hers. He did not look away. He did not smirk like the others. For one heartbeat she thought she saw pity. The bidding climbed. Aliens shouted louder, waving credits. The auctioneer grinned. This sale was good for him. He shouted about her beauty, about her silence, about her obedience. The girl's stomach twisted. Every word was a chain around her neck. Every laugh was another reminder of what she was to them. Nothing. Just an object, the human. Did not bid. He remained silent, watching, his jaw clenched tight, his hands folded behind his back. The girl could not stop glancing at him, even though fear told her not to. Something about his stillness was louder than all the shouting voices. Finally, the hammer came down. She was sold again. The crowd cheered. The new master walked forward with a wide smile. His sharp teeth gleamed as he handed over the payment. The auctioneer opened the cage, pulling her out like a broken doll. Her knees scraped the ground and she stumbled forward into the arms of yet another owner. The girl kept her eyes down, her breath shallow. She did not fight. She had no fight left. But as the chain was fastened around her wrist, she felt eyes still watching. She dared to look once more, and there he was. The human, still standing, still silent. His gaze followed her as she was dragged away, for the first time in years. Her chest ached not from fear, but from something she did not understand. Why did he watch? Why did he not buy her if he wanted her? Why did his eyes hold no cruelty? The questions burned in her mind. As the crowd began to fade and her new master pulled her into the shadows, she turned her head. Her last sight of the market was the human's face, still and calm, like a storm waiting to break. She did not know it then, but this was not the end of her story. This was only the beginning. The human had not walked away. He had simply waited, and somewhere deep inside her a spark flickered, small, fragile, but alive. The girl was taken to her new master's home. It was not a home in the way humans knew it. It was a cold place made of stone and metal, dark halls filled with silence that pressed against her chest. She was given no bed of her own, no corner, no blanket, she was told clearly. She was here for one purpose only. Every night she was ordered to lie beside him, not as a wife, not as a partner, but as an object. Her body was nothing more than a blanket to him. If she shivered, he laughed. If she turned away, he pulled her back with rough hands. Her heart sank deeper each night. The stars outside the small window mocked her with their freedom, shining brightly while she remained trapped in the dark. Time lost meaning. Days and nights blurred. The endless routine of serving, obeying, and surviving turned into chains stronger than any metal. Sometimes she wondered if death would be kinder than this life. She thought of it when the cold air cut into her skin, when hunger twisted her stomach, when her body trembled with exhaustion, but she never dared to act on it. Fear was stronger than her pain. The house echoed with the master's heavy footsteps. Each step sent a chill down her spine. His voice was sharp, his touch heavy. She learned to move silently, to breathe quietly, to disappear as much as possible. But no matter what she did, the nights always came, and with them the same cruel fate. Years passed like this, one endless night after another. She grew thinner, her spirit weaker. The girl who once dreamed of freedom became a shadow, a ghost. Inside her own body, her laughter was long forgotten, her smile buried under years of silence. She thought no one would ever remember she was a person, not even herself. Yet in the corner of her memory an image remained. The human from the market, the one who had stood silent, the one whose eyes did not mock, not even once. She often wondered why she remembered him. He had not saved her. He had not spoken. But the memory of his stillness, his gaze, stayed alive in her mind. In the darkest nights she imagined what it would be like if he had taken her instead. Hope was dangerous, but hope was also stubborn. It whispered in her heart. When everything else was quiet, it told her not everyone was the same, not every hand was cruel, not every voice carried commands. But the years tried hard to kill that whisper. They tried to bury it under hunger, pain, and loneliness. One night, when she lay awake staring at the ceiling, her master already snoring. Beside her she closed her eyes and pictured the human's face. She imagined him speaking softly, telling her she mattered. She imagined him opening the door of her cage and letting her step into the sunlight. Her lips trembled, almost forming a smile. But then reality returned, heavy and unkind. Her health began to weaken. Her skin lost its color. Her body became fragile. Her master grew frustrated with her, shouting that she was useless. He slapped her when she moved too slowly. He threatened to sell her again, or worse, throw her out into the streets where no one survived alone. Each threat dug deeper into her chest, but somewhere beneath all the pain a spark still lived. One evening as she sat by the cold wall, her arms wrapped around her knees, she thought again of the human. Had he forgotten her? Had she imagined his eyes? Perhaps it was only her broken mind clinging to something that never truly existed, yet she could not let go. Something about him had been different, and she held on to that difference like a lifeline. The nights dragged on, but something in the air began to change. She could feel it, a shift she could not explain. The master grew careless, drinking more, leaving doors unlocked, shouting to himself, and in those moments, she thought she saw a shadow outside, a figure watching, standing. Still in the darkness, her heart leapt. Could it be him? Or was her mind playing cruel tricks again? She pressed her face against the small crack of the window one night. Her breath caught in her throat. In the distance, under the pale moonlight, she saw him, the human, standing near the edge of the street. His eyes lifted to hers. Even from far away, she felt it. Her heart pounded against her chest. She did not move, afraid that if she blinked, he would vanish. He did not vanish. He stood there, silent, watching. And in that silent gaze, something broke inside her. Her chains, her despair. All shook for the first time in years. The endless. Nights no longer felt endless because now she knew someone was out there. Someone had not forgotten her, and for the first time she whispered into the darkness, "Please, don't leave me." The girl's body could no longer keep up. Her legs shook when she stood. Her hands trembled when she carried even the smallest cup of water. She coughed at night, her chest heavy. Her once bright eyes had grown dull, and her voice rarely came. Out louder than a whisper, her master noticed, and he did not like it. He shouted at her more often. His patience, what little he had, burned away. "You are weak," he hissed. "You are no use to me anymore." His words cut deeper than any strike, because she already knew it was true. Her body was failing. She could feel it. The nights that once seemed endless now became torture. Each breath felt heavier, each order harder to obey. She moved like a shadow, dragging herself across the cold floor. She did not know how much longer she could last. And for the first time, she wondered if her story would end quietly in this dark place, with no one even noticing she was gone. But her master had other plans. One evening, after she collapsed while bringing him food, he grabbed her by the arm and shook her. "Enough," he snarled. "I will get rid of you. You are nothing but wasted space now." He threw her to the ground. Her thin body hit the floor with a painful crack, her vision blurred. She lay there, breathing shallowly, as his words echoed. In her head, "Get rid of you." Her heart pounded. Was this it? Was this where her story ended? But that night, as she curled against the wall shivering, she felt something. Eyes watching again. The same quiet presence. The same human who had stood in the market years ago. The memory had become real. He was there, outside the cracked window, his face half hidden in the shadows. She gasped softly, her hands trembling as she pressed against the window's edge. Was he real, or only her tired mind creating false hope? But then he moved, his hand lifted slightly, not in command, not in cruelty, but in reassurance. Her chest ached, her lips parted, but no words came. The next day, her master spoke to another man in hushed tones. She could hear them from the corner of the room. "She's done, she can't even stand. I'll sell her cheap or toss her out. No one will take her now." They laughed. The sound was sharp and cruel. Each laugh stabbed her heart. She was no longer a person, just trash to be thrown away. That night, she broke. She cried silently, her tears falling onto the cold stone floor. For years she had not allowed herself to cry. She had buried her pain deep, but now she could not hold it back. Her body shook, her breath came in gasps. It felt like the end, but in the middle of her sobs, she remembered his eyes, the human's eyes. She remembered the way they held no cruelty, the way they seemed to carry something she had not felt in years: pity, kindness, humanity. Her heart clung to that memory like a drowning hand clutching driftwood. The door creaked. Heavy footsteps filled the room. Her master walked in, his shadow, stretching across the floor. "Get up," he barked. But she could not. Her body refused to move. For the first time, she did not even try. She simply lay there, staring at the floor. Rage filled his face. He kicked the ground beside her, his voice a thunder. Worthless, useless. He reached for the chain around her wrist. His grip was iron, his intention clear. He was done with her. She closed her eyes, bracing for whatever came next, but then, another sound. A voice, firm and steady, cut through the room. "Enough!" The master froze. The girl's eyes flew open. Standing in the doorway was the human, his figure tall, his eyes burning. With quiet fire, he had not come to watch this time, he had come to act. The master snarled, "Who are you?" "This is my property." His voice shook with anger, but also with fear, because the human did not look like a man who could be ignored. The girl stared at him, her heart racing. He was real. He had come. The human stepped closer, his gaze fixed, not on the master, but on her. "She is not property," he said calmly. His voice was steady, but beneath it was steel. The girl's breath caught in her throat. No one had ever said those words for her. No one had ever looked at her and seen more than chains. The master laughed harshly. "Then take her. Take this useless thing if you want. She'll die soon enough. He pushed her toward the human. She stumbled, barely able to stand, but strong arms caught her, steady and warm. For the first time in years, she was not falling. For the first time in years, someone had caught her. Her body trembled in his hold, her lips parted, and a single broken whisper escaped. "Why?" The human's eyes softened. His answer was simple. "Because you deserve more than this." Her heart broke all over again, but this time, it was not from pain. It was from the weight of words she had thought she would never hear. Her breaking point had arrived, but instead of ending her, it had brought her a beginning. The human's arms held her steady. Her weak body leaned against him, trembling. She could feel the difference at once. His grip was firm but gentle, not cruel, not demanding. It felt strange, almost unreal. After years of being treated as nothing, she could not understand why. He would help her. Her master spat on the floor. "Take her then. She is worthless, nothing but skin and bones. You'll regret it." He turned away, laughing to himself. His heavy steps faded down the hall, leaving the girl in silence with the human. She looked up at him with wide eyes. Her voice cracked as she whispered, Why did you come?" His jaw tightened, but his eyes softened. "Because no one deserves to live like this," he said quietly. Then, without asking, he lifted her into his arms as if she weighed nothing. The cold night air hit her face when he stepped outside. The stars above seemed brighter, freer. She clung to his shirt, afraid he would vanish like a dream if she let go. Her heart pounded wildly, part fear, part hope. They moved quickly through the narrow alleys. The human's steps were strong and, sure, he seemed to know where to go. His eyes scanned the shadows, always alert. She heard distant voices, drunken laughter, barking orders from guards in the distance. Her fear returned. "If they catch us," she whispered, unable to finish. He glanced down at her, his voice calm but firm. "They won't. I won't let them." Something in his tone made her believe him, even when her mind screamed not to trust. For the first time in years, she crossed the streets not as a prisoner being dragged, but as someone carried toward freedom. The thought made her chest ache. Her throat tightened with emotions she could not name. They reached the edge of the city, tall walls looming over them. The gates were guarded, torches burning bright. But the human did not head for the gate. Instead, he followed a hidden path along the crumbled edges of the wall. Every step echoed with risk. If anyone spotted them, it would be over. She buried her face against his chest, whispering, "Why are you risking this? You don't even know me." His reply was steady. "Because I remember your eyes. You did not deserve the chains they put on you." Her breath caught. She had thought no one had seen her back then, yet he had remembered at last. They slipped. Through a gap in the wall, stones broken and forgotten. The night opened before them, wide fields stretching under the moonlight. The city's cruel glow was behind them now. For the first time she breathed deeply, the air cold but fresh. She wanted to cry, but the tears refused to come. The human lowered her gently onto the grass, letting her rest for a moment. She looked at him, really looked this time. His face was tired but strong. His eyes carried both anger and kindness. He had risked everything to bring her here, but still she could not understand. "You don't know what I am," she said softly, her voice shaking. "I was sold. I was used. I am broken." Her hands gripped the ground as if she expected him to turn away, but he did not. He knelt in front of her, meeting her eyes. "You are alive," he said firmly. "That is enough, and you are free now." Her heart shook. The word sounded impossible, like a language she had forgotten. Free. The word echoed inside her, sweet and terrifying at the same time. Could she really believe it? The sound of voices broke the moment. Guards were shouting in the distance. Torches flickered near the wall. Her blood turned cold. They had been discovered. The human stood quickly, pulling her up, his hand wrapped around hers. "We keep moving," he said, his voice calm but urgent. He led her into the tall grass, the shadows swallowing them whole. Her legs were weak, but he did not let her fall. Every step was a battle. Her breath came short, but his grip never loosened. Behind them, the shouts grew louder. Dogs barked, feet pounded against the ground. Her fear returned stronger than ever. "They'll catch us," she gasped. He looked back only once, his jaw tight. "Not if we don't stop." His eyes burned with determination, not fear. She clung to his hand, and for the first time she chose to move, not because she was ordered, but because she wanted to. She wanted to believe him. The night stretched long, filled with pursuit and shadows. At last the sounds behind them faded. The guards' voices grew distant. The barking dogs silenced. They had escaped. The girl stumbled, nearly falling, but he caught her again, his arms steady. "Rest now," he said softly. She collapsed against him, exhausted, her body weak, but her heart alive with something new. Hope. As she drifted into sleep in his arms, she whispered a word she had not dared to say in years. "Thank you." The human looked down at her, his eyes reflecting the moonlight. "This is only the beginning," he murmured. "I will not let them take you again." And for the first time in her life, she believed someone's promise. The journey through the night had drained her. By the time the horizon turned gray with the first touch of morning, her body felt like it would collapse. Her steps grew slower, her breaths shallow, but the human did not leave her behind. He lifted her in his arms once more, carrying her as if the weight did not matter. She rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. It was different from the sharp, heavy rhythm of fear she had always known. His heartbeat was calm, strong, and strangely safe. For the first time, she closed her eyes without terror chasing her. When she opened them again, they stood before a small cabin hidden between tall trees. The house looked old, built from wood and stone. Smoke rose gently from a chimney. The forest around it was quiet, the air filled with birdsong. She blinked, confused. It looked nothing like the cold walls she had always known. The human pushed open the door, carrying her inside. Warmth rushed to greet her, the smell of firewood, the faint scent of bread. The small room glowed with orange light from the hearth. A table, 2 chairs, and a shelf filled with simple tools and books decorated the space. It was not grand, not rich, but it felt alive. He placed her gently on a bed near the fire. Her eyes widened. Soft blankets, a pillow, a bed that belonged to her alone. She touched the fabric with shaking fingers, unable to believe it. For years, she had been forced into beds that were not her own, beds that belonged to cruelty, and now one was given to her freely. The human knelt beside her. His voice was calm. "You are safe here. No one will touch you. Not unless you want it." Her chest tightened. She wanted to believe, but her scars whispered that safety was only a dream. She turned her face away, tears stinging her eyes. He did not push. He did not demand answers. Instead, he stood and began to prepare food. She watched silently as he moved around the room, pouring water into a kettle, slicing bread, adding wood to the fire. Every motion was simple, ordinary, yet to her, it felt extraordinary. No one had ever served her, not even with something as small as food. When he returned with a bowl of warm broth, she hesitated. Her hands shook as she tried to lift it. He noticed and gently helped. Holding the spoon near her lips, she flinched at first, expecting a strike, but his patience never wavered. His voice was low. "Eat. It will give you strength." She sipped slowly. The warmth filled her stomach, chasing away the emptiness that had lived inside her for so long. With every bite, her eyes grew wet. She did not understand why something so simple made her want to cry. Perhaps it was because kindness felt heavier than cruelty when you had never known it before. Days passed, and she remained in his cabin. Her body slowly healed under his care. The bruises faded, her cough eased. She gained strength step by step. She began to walk around the cabin, touching the shelves, the wooden walls, the simple objects that seemed more precious than gold. The human never treated her as a servant, never barked orders. He spoke to her as if she were equal, sometimes asking if she wanted tea, sometimes telling her small stories of the forest or his past. She listened quietly, not knowing how to reply. Her voice had been locked away for too long, but inside her heart, something began to stir. One evening, as the fire crackled, she asked the question that had haunted her since he had first saved her. Why me? Her voice was soft, almost lost in the flame's crackle. He looked at her, his eyes steady. Because when I saw you in that cage, I saw a person, not a thing, and I could not forget your eyes. They were screaming even when your lips were silent. Her chest tightened. Her hands gripped the blanket. She whispered, I am broken. His reply came quickly. No, you are hurt, but not broken. Broken means finished, and you are still here. His words struck deep. She turned her face away, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. She lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, the warmth of the fire wrapped around her. She remembered his words again and again. You are not broken. She touched her chest lightly, feeling her heartbeat, steady, alive. Could it be true? Could she still be more than what they had forced her to be? The next morning, she stood by the door, watching him chop wood outside. His strength was quiet, not cruel. Every movement was steady, done with purpose. And when he carried the logs inside, he smiled faintly at her, not demanding, not mocking, just human. She lowered her gaze quickly, her cheeks warm. She did not understand the feeling, but for the first time her heart did not only beat with fear, it beat with something new, something soft. For years she had been treated as a body, nothing more. But here, in this cabin, with this human, she felt something she had never dared to imagine before. She felt seen, and though she could not say it yet, deep inside her fragile heart, she knew this place was no longer just his home. Slowly, it was becoming hers too. For a short time, peace filled the cabin. The girl learned what silence without fear sounded like. She learned what it felt like to sleep through the night without being forced awake. She learned how food could taste when it was given, not stolen. She even learned how to smile again, though faintly only when the human looked away. But peace never lasted long in her world. One morning, while the human chopped wood near the cabin, a shadow moved among the trees. At first it was only a whisper of movement, a strange sound of snapping branches, but then more followed. Boots striking the soil, voices carried by the wind. She froze by the window, her heart pounding. The sound of laughter was too familiar, cruel and sharp. Her blood ran cold. She recognized those voices. They belonged to her master's men, the ones who had dragged her from cage to cage, the ones who had mocked her weakness. They had come to reclaim what they thought was theirs. The human noticed her pale face at the window. His hand tightened on the axe. He followed her gaze and his eyes darkened. He set the axe down slowly. His voice was calm but heavy. Stay inside. Do not come out unless I call you. Her breath caught. She wanted to argue, to tell him they were too many. But fear choked her words. All she could do was nod as he stepped outside, his shoulders straight, his steps steady. The men appeared at the edge of the clearing, 6 of them, armed with blades and grins. At the center stood her old master. His sharp teeth glistened in the light. His eyes burned with arrogance. He spread his arms as if the cabin and the land around it belonged to him. I knew it, he sneered. You stole from me, human. You think you can take what is mine and hide her in this hole? The human's voice was steady. She was never yours. Laughter broke out among the men, cruel and loud. Her master stepped forward, his boots sinking into the soft earth. She is property. She was sold. She was paid for. She belongs to me. His words made her stomach twist. Even though she was safe inside, they were chains, spoken like truth. But the human did not flinch. His jaw tightened. No one belongs to you, not her, not anyone. The men sneered, drawing their blades. The girl clutched the blanket in her fists, her body trembling. She wanted to close her eyes, but she could not. She pressed her face against the wooden wall, listening. Her heart raced so hard it hurt. The master's voice rose again, sharp like a whip. Stand aside, human. Give her back, or we will cut you down where you stand. The human did not move. His voice was calm but firm. If you want her, you will have to go through me." The men exchanged glances, and then, with snarls, they surged forward. The sound of steel rang in the air. The human moved quickly, grabbing the axe he had set down. His strikes were precise, not wild. Each swing forced the men back. Each step he took pushed them farther from the cabin. He fought not like a man seeking glory, but like one protecting something precious. The girl pressed her hands against her mouth to stop her cries. Her whole body shook. She wanted to run, to hide, but she could not tear her eyes away from the window. She saw the human stand against 6 armed men, his breath steady, his body strong. One of the men lunged, but the human caught him with the blunt end of the axe, knocking him into the dirt. Another slashed forward, but the human dodged and struck his arm. The master growled, his voice full of fury. "You will die for this." "Human!" But the human's eyes did not waver. "Better me than her," he said. The words struck the girl like lightning. Her knees weakened. Her heart throbbed painfully. No one had ever spoken like that for her. No one had ever stood between her and danger. The fight raged on. The human's shirt tore, blood stained his side, but still he stood. His strikes grew heavier, his stance stronger. With every moment he refused to step aside, refused to surrender. The men's confidence began to crack. At last, 2 of them fled into the trees, fear overpowering greed. The master cursed, his sharp teeth bared. "This is not over," he spat. "She will never be free. She is mine, and I will return." He retreated with the last of his men, their voices fading into the forest. Silence returned to the clearing, broken only by the heavy breaths of the human. The girl ran to the door, her body weak but her heart fierce. She stepped outside, her bare feet sinking into the earth. Her eyes filled with tears as she saw the blood on his side. Why did you do this?" she whispered, her voice shaking. He looked at her, his chest rising and falling with exhaustion. His reply was simple, steady. "Because no one should fight alone, and you are not alone anymore." Her lips trembled. Her tears fell freely. For the first time, the chains around her heart cracked, and deep inside she knew, no matter how many times her master returned, she would never again face the darkness alone. The cabin was quiet after the fight. The smell of iron lingered in the air, and drops of blood stained the soil outside. The girl stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the human who had fought for her. Her heart pounded so hard it felt like it might break free from her chest. He staggered slightly, his hand pressing against the wound at his side. She rushed forward, fear gripping her. "You're hurt," she cried softly. Her trembling hands reached out but stopped in the air. She had never been allowed to touch without permission. Her body still carried the memory of chains. The human's gaze softened. He caught her shaking hands and guided them gently to his wound. "It's not deep, I'll be fine," he said. His voice was calm, even though sweat glistened on his face. She looked at him, her tears blurring his features. "Why do you always say that? Why do you always protect me first?" He gave her a faint smile, one that carried both pain and warmth. "Because you've spent your whole life protecting yourself from everyone. It's time someone else stood for you." Her chest tightened. She had no answer, only tears. She helped him inside, leading him to the chair by the fire. She fetched water, cloth, and whatever herbs she found in the small cupboard. Her hands shook as she cleaned the wound. Every touch was careful, afraid of hurting him, but he didn't flinch. He only watched her quietly, as though the pain did not matter. That night, she could not sleep. She sat by the fire watching him rest, his face calm even as the flames painted shadows across his skin. He had risked everything, his life, his home, his peace for her. A girl who had been told she was nothing, a girl who had been sold, used, discarded. Yet to him, she was worth fighting for. The thought both warmed and frightened her. What did it mean? Could she really be more than what they had made her believe? She wrapped the blanket tighter around herself, whispering into the fire, "Am I truly free?" The next morning, the human rose early, despite his wound. He stepped outside, gathering wood as if nothing had happened. She followed him quietly, standing at the edge of the door. "You should rest," she said softly. He shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. "Life doesn't stop because of pain, it moves forward." His words sank deep. Days passed. The forest remained quiet. No sign of her old master or his men. Each sunrise felt like a gift she had never known before. She began to help around the cabin, fetching water, cleaning, learning how to cook simple meals. The human never demanded it, never ordered. He only smiled when she offered slowly. Her body grew stronger, but more than that, her heart began to heal. She found herself laughing softly at his small jokes. She caught herself staring at his face when he didn't notice. She felt warmth in her chest whenever he looked at her with those steady eyes. It was new, frightening, but also beautiful. One evening, as they sat by the fire, she gathered her courage. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why do you treat me like I matter? I was nothing to them. I was sold like food in a market. I was used until I broke. Why do you see me differently?" The human's eyes met hers, calm and unwavering. "Because you are not what they said you were. They took away your voice, but that doesn't mean you are voiceless. They tried to break you, but you are still here. Breathing. Alive. That means you are stronger than them." Her breath caught. Her eyes burned with tears. No one had ever spoken like that to her. No one had ever given her worth beyond her body. She looked at him, her lips trembling. "And if they come back," he leaned closer, his voice steady, "then I will fight them again, and again, because freedom is not something given once. It is something defended every day, and I will defend yours as long as I breathe." Her tears fell silently. She wanted to believe, and for the first time she did. She reached out, her hand trembling, and placed it over his. "Then, let me stay," she whispered. "Not as a prisoner, not as a burden, but as me." The human's eyes softened. His hand turned, holding hers gently. "Stay," he said simply. And in that single word, she found a home. From that day, the cabin was no longer just a shelter in the woods. It became a place of healing, of laughter, of quiet mornings and safe nights. She was no longer a bed companion, no longer an object sold in cages. She was a person, seen, valued, cherished. And though her scars would never fully fade, each day with him built a new life, brick by brick. A life where she was not owned, not used, not discarded, but loved. Her story, once filled with endless nights, had finally found a dawn. It was not the end, but truly a new beginning.